All right, so let's talk about some scaling strategies, right? So we've tested, we've found winners, we see, hey, this is a winning audience, this is a winning creative. We have all these elements, right? Now, what do we do to take that from a few $100s a day, a few $1,000s a day to $5,000, $10,000 a day and spend? That's a big question. It's a big challenge, right? So there are numerous scaling strategies, all of which have their pros and cons and their risks, along with their corresponding upside. What I want to talk about in this video is something called the lottery method, which is essentially taking your best audiences, your best creative, and putting them into one large budget campaign. Okay. Now, this is I think what's important too, and I've said this multiple times, is, there are so many really talented people in the Facebook advertising world. There's so many people that I share with, that I learn from, and it's this really great network of really smart people who are always sharing ideas. And so there's going to be times where, hey, this is a really cool strategy that my buddy Deepesh has or my buddy Tim has. Let me try it out. Let's make some modifications to it. Let's put our own spin on it, and let's improve it for our audience, right? And so this is actually something Tim Bird and I, when we were in Phuket together, we were talking about this new strategy that he was coming out with, and I was like, well, let me try it. Kind of gave me some high level ideas on it, and we deployed it, made some spins on it, some variations to it, and deployed it. So I want to make sure too that Tim, it's like the bully method. Some things in here are Tim came up with those ideas, and then we were able to come in and say, hey, this is an incredible idea. It's really strong foundation. Let's now try it for CBO, and let's try it for this specific product, and let's put some different spins on it. Let's add this rule and try this many creatives versus this many audiences. So I always like to share that, because I think there's a lot of people who do trainings and coaching and stuff, and they feel the need to, like, every idea that I share and everything I say needs to be 100% original, even though they might be taking stuff from other places and they don't disclose that. And I think that's a problem, right? So I believe highly in being transparent, and also being aware that, like, none of us are the autonomous experts in our fields, right? There's nobody out there that is the number one Facebook advertiser or the number one e-commerce entrepreneur, right? There are hundreds of people that are really, really successful and really, really talented, and we should be working together to mind share and lift everybody up. So I just wanted to share that before we dove in, because Tim's a really good friend of mine, and I want to make sure that anybody that's like, hey, these are some really cool strategies, and I'm looking for more advanced stuff, or I'm looking to continue my education, like, Tim's also a great person to look at, and he's been a great motivation for me. So just wanted to give a shout out to Tim, especially because we're in the scaling stuff. And on the scaling side, he has so many great strategies that have worked for me, that I've been able to build a really strong foundation on. So, like, bully method and stuff that we'll talk about our Tim Bird originals. So let's dive into the lottery method. So here's what I think is really interesting about this strategy. When we look at launching new campaigns, we need to realize that Facebook as a platform is volatile, right? Unlike AdWords and certain other platforms, Facebook is a volatile platform. There are things that could work really well one day and tank the other day, right? That doesn't happen on a lot of other platforms. So what we need to do as advertisers is figure out, okay, this is the way the platform is. Let's roll with that. Let's leverage the volatility to maximize our upside and limit our downside. And what that means is, if every day there's going to be swings, and so something that worked yesterday doesn't work today, and something that didn't work yesterday is going to work today, I want to play a numbers game. And so the lottery method essentially takes our top audiences that we've already discovered in our testing phases and puts them all into one large campaign with one large starting budget, with 2 to 4 unique ads under each ads, and those ads are going to be our top ads. So by this point, everything should be tested. Everything inside this campaign should already be working, right? There shouldn't be a single audience in here, a single bid, a single ad that has not already been proven to be profitable. That's the first thing, okay? So in this campaign, and this is going to be a CBO campaign, right? So remember, we talked about everything really being CBO nowadays. And if you're watching this in September, this is de facto. This is like the way of the world, right? So this will be a campaign budget optimization campaign. This campaign we got up to, it was $10,000 a day. But remember, like what's going to happen here is we're going to be turning things off throughout the day and also increasing the budget. So you're not like, obviously, because this spent, I think $25,000, $30,000. So we weren't spending $10,000 a day right out of the gate, right? This is kind of where it ended up. And using manual bids, you're also not going to get full spend every time either. So you need to factor in a few other variables when you're doing manual bidding, when you're doing CBO with daily budget increases. This number is not going to be the end number you spend every day. And that's obvious based on this campaign, right? There's a lot of other variables. But you really want to start this campaign, and we'll talk about the number of ad sets in a second. You want to be spending at least $2,500 to $3,500, so $2,500 to $3,500 a day to start to make this work. Because this is going to be we're basically playing the lottery here, right? So when you play the lottery and you go and buy scratch offs, if you buy enough scratch offs, you're going to find a winning scratch off, right? That's just probability, right? Now, it doesn't mean you're going to win in the long run. So unlike the lottery, this strategy actually helps you win in the long run, but it gets to the point across that, hey, you got to play numbers here. That's the only way to work. And the more numbers you play, the greater chance you're actually going to win. So this can be a auto bid or manual bid campaign. It depends on, Hoki's having a little issue down here. It depends on what's worked for you already. So we have some optimization campaigns we've already talked about where we're segmenting out winning audiences by the segment or by the bid. Are you okay? She has these like reverse sneezes where it sounds like she's having like a panic attack. I gotta like rub her nose so she actually licks the nose and it stops. But so by this point, we've already done these down here where we've broken out our winning ad sets into different segments in CBO campaigns. And we've also done that with bids. So now by this point, if we found that certain manual bids are working really well, we might want to go max bid, manual bid. If we find that, hey, just auto bids working best because they're broad audiences, we can go auto bid. So again, this is totally dependent on what's already worked by the time you get to this point, right? We've already tested Bully. We've already tested a lot of bidding strategies. So we know that, come on, you got to go. Go sneeze over there. So we already know that the $90 max bid is our strongest bid. So that's what we're going with. So this is a max bid campaign. All of these ad sets have $90 max bid. And so what we come in and we do is we're going to put all of our winning ad sets in here. So every ad set that's been profitable, that's shown a lot of promise on a consistent basis. So for more than 3 days, not just like 1 day profitability, but over a period of a few days with, several $100s in spend, we're going to come in here and we're going to put all those ad sets inside this large campaign. Now for me, this was on the extreme end. So this is kind of the cap of ad sets you want to put in here, 54 ad sets. So this was 27. So we had 27 unique audiences in here. Each one is duplicated once. So you can go as few as 12 to 15 audiences, unique audiences that are each duplicated once, up to as high as 27, 28. That starts to push it. So the reason we did 27 is this was during the holidays. We had a lot of things working and we were spending a lot of money. We had high starting spends. So we really wanted to just put a bunch of data in there and go really big essentially. But you don't need to have 27 winning audiences for this to work. You can be in, like I said, as little as 12 and 15. So we put in 27 unique audiences in here. We then set the bid at $90. So each one of these is a saved audience. And then we're copying them, right? So, we had like, these all say copy. So, 5%, 95% video view, $90 max bid. So we have our unique audience in here, right? Pretty straightforward. 7-day click attribution, because that was what was working best for us. $90 max bid. This is actually changed. So this has been changed since we actually ran this campaign, then putting cost control here as opposed to max bid. So they kind of moved it to the cost cap. But when we were running this was max bid. So we have that. We're going to create our 27 unique ones of this. And then we're going to, check all of our unique audiences, right? And we're going to, obviously I'm not going to do all of them. And we're going to quick dupe them. So we're going to have 2 variations of each. So a duplicate of each. And then on each one of these, we're going to have our top two audiences. And this is actually, so we had issues with this product because the company didn't ship them on as fast as they should have. So the wishlist product page got shut down, which is unfortunate, but we made all our money anyway. So luckily, like the offer tanked anyway after Christmas, so it was irrelevant. But that was a whole nother thing, and we'll talk about that in future in videos in this course about your customer satisfaction score, how to handle delayed shipping, all of that stuff, because obviously pages can get shut down, and that can reset your basically your entire campaign. So we have 27 unique ads, duplicated ones, 54 total ad sets, 2 unique ads. All of these are already winners. And so that's the structure, right? We're going to load it up. We're going to start at, $2,500 to $3,500 a day. It's going to vary depending on what your target CPA is. For us, we were really shooting for 35. Like 35 was our line in the sand. So anything under that, really anything under 34, we were happy with. So started it, let it ran. And then we also, a key part of this is to have automation rules. So for this to work, come on, get out of here, go. So for this to work, you need to have a lot of rules in place, because the name of the game here is that by midday, so depending on when the ads start, like if you're day 2 and you're resetting them at 6 a.m., then it might be noon, 1 p.m. If you're at midnight, it might be 10:30, 11:30 a.m. You're going to want to start really killing off a lot of ad sets. So you want to quickly identify the ad sets that are just having a bad day, that are starting off real rough, that are over your target CPA. That way, all the spend can be reallocated to the winning audiences, right? That's really important. So we have a few rules in place that we're going to do here. So the first one to put in place, just for any, and this I think is a great rule to have in place for anybody, is our noon stop loss rule, or our daily stop loss rule. So we have a rule in place that basically is just anything that's spending too fast and is really not working well, we want to kill that regardless of time in the day. So we were turning off ad sets if the cost per purchase was over 35, which again was our line in the sand. If it spent more than $150 so far in this day, and it didn't contain dead in the ad set name, because we had certain keywords in there, so they didn't get triggered by rules, which is important for the reset and turn off rules. You want to make sure there's certain ad sets and ads that can run separate from any rules. So we could do that with different ad set names here. So again, this is irrelevant of time. This is going to run continuously throughout the day. So let's say, hey, 2 in the morning, one of these ad sets starts getting a lot of spend and you're sleeping, right? And you don't have this in place. That ad set might spend $300, $400, $500 unprofitably. And you wake up in the morning and then you're like, holy crap, 10% of my budget has been spent on this ad set, 2 or 3 ad sets that are really unprofitable. And I would have turned them off if I was awake, but it was in the morning, right? So this just helps mitigate that risk. So that's not going to happen. It'll kill those ad sets and ads if you want to run this for ads too, just to protect your downside and protect ad sets that are just delivering too fast and doing it unprofitably. So daily stop loss. Usually I set the spend at between 4 and 5x, maybe 6x, depending on how much spend I have and how good the data looks. Usually 4 to 5x target CPA. So, if my target CPA is $20, I might set a stop loss that triggers at $80 to $100. So this rule would then be, hey, if today's spent was $100, greater than $100, and the cost per purchase was over $20, then you turn it off. So that's what we're going to have in place there. Now, also, you're going to make modifications to this over time based on your risk tolerance and based on daily performance of this campaign. Because if you start seeing that, hey, there's a consistent trend of, ad sets being a little over break even, but then coming back down, maybe I put the buffer up a little higher. So the stop loss is, $37 or $38. So it's not killing things, especially if there's multiple ads under it, which is not this case, but other campaigns. If there's multiple ads under an ad set, you might still have really good ads under there that if the other ads are turned off, could turn the campaign around. But at that time, the ad set looks pretty bad. So you're going to want to modify that number. For me, for this campaign, we had enough things running that we're like, hey, if it's not profitable, we're turning it off, basically. That was our rule of thumb. We didn't care because we had enough things running. So that's the stop loss rule that we're running. Now what we have is multiple rules running throughout the day. So we had at noon, she doesn't care. She's like, I'm coming back on the lap. I don't give a crap. Um, so we had rules for our ads and rules for our ad sets. So at noon, we had a rule that, hey, at noon, check this, check all the ad sets, and any ad set that has a cost per purchase over $35, turn it off, right? And you can set up a custom schedule, which you need to do down here. So you need to make sure that you're at the ad set level, that it's cost per purchase greater than $35. Don't just do cost per result, do cost per purchase. That the time range is today, that it's not continuous, that it's custom, and then you have to go into the custom schedule, and you're going to have to make sure that this is at 12 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. So you don't want it running all day. You only want it starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time for your account, or Pacific time for your account, whatever the account is. And so basically, this is going to run at noon every day, and all the ad sets that are profitable for the day are going to get turned off. And this is important because I think one of the biggest challenges that ad buyers have and marketers have is like faith, right? And I'm guilty of this, where we have this, we have hope that, hey, this ad set, it's so close. It's at $36. It's at $38. All it needs is one sale and it'll turn around. And we let it ride. And then all of a sudden it's 1 p.m., it's 2 p.m., it's 3 p.m. And it's creeped, and now it's at 40. And we're like, oh, come on, it's got to happen. And by the end of the day, it ends up losing money regardless. So usually, and this isn't 100% of the time, but I've noticed across like hundreds of ad accounts that I've either ran or been in and seen, and close to $100 million in spend, that very rarely does a ad set or ad that is losing money by midday turn around. It just usually doesn't happen. Like at a statistically significant level, it just doesn't happen. So you need to take your emotions out of it, and that's what's cool about rules. So rules just run. This is just, a computer program. It doesn't have emotions, doesn't have feelings, it just acts. So at noon, every ad set that's not profitable gets turned off. This way you take yourself out of the equation, and things get more consistent, more stable, more profitable when you remove yourself from the equation. That's what's great about rules. So everything gets turned off. And remember, the beauty of this campaign is that we're running a lot of ad sets. So even if we kill 30 ad sets, we still have 24 other ad sets running that are profitable. So we need to focus on the profitable ones. Okay, so we're doing that for ad sets. We do the same thing for ads, right? It's a little less valuable for this campaign because we only have 2 ads. But if you're running a campaign with 4, 6, 8 ads, this rule becomes a lot more important as well, because you could have 1 or 2 ads that are doing really, really well, very profitable, but the other 4 or 6 are getting a lot of spend and they're losers, and the ad set sucks for the day, right? So I want to kill those ads as quickly as possible. So again, we have the same structure, except the only difference with this rule is that we're turning off ads, not ad sets, but everything else is the same here. So those are the noon stop loss. Again, you're going to want to play with this time. It might be for your account, you might have enough data by 11 a.m. If your account, maybe it delivers slow, it might not be till 1 p.m. So you want to play with these numbers and just figure out the best time. Ideally, the sooner you can turn things off, the better. That's usually the rule of thumb. Like the earlier in the day I can kill losers, the more likely I'm going to be profitable, because then I waste less spend on losers and I get to allocate more spend to winners. That's really the name of the game. So noon stop loss, we have those there. We have the daily stop loss we went through. And then we also have 0 sales. So this is really important. A lot of people make this mistake. So they put the daily stop loss in place. They put the noon stop loss in place. They have those rules in there. But what they don't account for are the ad sets that are total losers, that are spending a lot of money without any sales. Because these rules that I just showed you, they only trigger if there's sales, right? So if I have no sales, and Hookie, I can just tell she's so excited about this. That's why she's having this attack. Come on. You haven't had an attack for like a week, and now you're going to do it while we're shooting content. It's all about her, right? So if I don't have a sale, you can let me talk? So if I don't have a sale, those rules can't trigger, because the trigger event for those rules is the cost per purchase, right? If I have no sales, I have no cost per purchase. There's no number there. So I need to also have rules in place. Let's say I have an ad set that spent $100 today without a single sale. I don't want to keep running that. That's a loser, right? I want to kill that. So I want to make sure I have rules in place that if it's spent more than X without a purchase, I want to turn off those ads and those ad sets. So here's a rule we have. And again, the amount you put in here for spent is going to vary based on historical data in this campaign and your risk tolerance. For us, when you're running this lottery method, we had enough ad sets running that we could be a little more stringent on when we cut things. We could be a little more aggressive because we had enough winners usually on a daily basis. So we actually set the spent. It was like, usually it's going to be, 1.5 to 2x target CPA is the amount spent without a purchase that you want to decide to kill something. Okay, so if it's spent more than, $42, and we lowered this over time. Initially, I think it was $50, but we kept lowering it because we had enough winners. So essentially, hey, if an ad set spends more than $42 without a purchase, we're going to turn it off. And this is going to run continuously. It's going to run today. I don't need a custom schedule, and this is good. And we're going to do the same thing with ads. So, hey, if this ad is spent more than $40 without a sale, we're going to turn it off. And again, this is just another really good risk mitigator for us to have to make sure that those ad sets and ads that are just really not doing well out of the gate, that have no sales by the time they've hit 1.5, 2x target CPA, that they're just getting removed from the equation and not running. Okay, so we have our stop losses in place, we have our noon cutoffs, we have our zero sale rules in place. The final thing we need in place is our restart rules. Okay, so what we want to make sure we do with this campaign is that we restart everything the next day, because remember, there's volatility. So what worked today might not work tomorrow, and what didn't work today might work tomorrow. So we want to give all the ad sets and ads a few days to really figure out what's working best before we permanently kill things. So we're going to have a rule on here that applies to all paused ad sets. It's going to turn on those ad sets if the spend was greater than $1 yesterday and the ad set name does not contain the word dead. Because what we want to do also is, let's say an ad set's run for 3 days and it's spent, 6 to 10x target CPA, and it's clear it's been a loser every day. I don't want to keep restarting that. That's just now that's a loser ad set. It's not going to change. So I want to modify the ad set name, and I want to append it with the word dead. So I'm going to add that word to the ad set. That way it stays off. It doesn't get restarted the following day. And so every day after that first 3 days, 4 days of running it, and it has 6 to 10x target CPA, I want to add dead to the ad sets and ads that have been permanent losers. So that way they're off, and now each day I'm only restarting things that have shown promise or are making money. So this rule's in place. Time range yesterday, spent greater than $1. Ad set name does not contain the word dead. I'm going to run this on a custom schedule. Now this is also where you want to come in and find the best time. So a lot of people restart at midnight, which can be okay depending on your customer base. However, what we realized is between midnight and 5 a.m., really there was no sales happening. So our ROI during that time frame was really bad. So I don't want to restart things to just spend money between that time period when nobody's buying products. I noticed that 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., depending on the day, was the time where people started getting online again and buying, especially on the East Coast and in Europe. So we had the rules that, hey, it's going to check it yesterday's ad sets, and if they met these conditions, restart at 5 a.m. So this way, what's great about this strategy is I'm able to kind of day part without using lifetime budgets, which is great because people like day parting. It's really effective, but you need to use lifetime budgets to do it. So with rules, I can actually kind of do day parting, at least hourly, without needing lifetime budgets. So you can come in, remember, custom schedule, edit custom schedule, and just set the time. So if you want it to be 6 a.m., it can be 6 a.m. If you want it to be 4 a.m., it can be 4 a.m. Just make sure that both of these are the same time, and it'll check this rule at that time and restart everything. So that's the restart on the ad sets. And then again, you want to do the same thing, but for ads. So for ads, turn on ads. This is actually so this is actually a third rule or a fourth rule. So what I also want to do is have a rule, because sometimes there's delayed sales, right? So I might have an ad or ad set running throughout the day that maybe sent 2 people to the product page that buy during the day, but they haven't bought yet. And so that ad or ad set might look like a loser, and the rules might turn it off. But what happens if at 2 p.m. all of a sudden 2 or 3 people that clicked it early in the day buy. And now that ad and ad set's profitable and actually really profitable, well, I don't want to keep it off. I want to turn it back on. As long as it's in a 24-hour window, we're solid. So I have this rule in place that any paused ads where their cost per purchase is under my target today, it's going to turn them back on continuously. So this is also great. This is kind of like the opposite of a stop loss. So the stop loss catches things overspending and turning them off. This catches things that got turned off too early that are profitable. So definitely want to check out the delayed sales rule for ads and ad set to make sure those are added as well. Awesome. So this is, again, and then I guess one final part. So we have the structure, which is 15 to 27 unique ad sets, each with 2 to 4 unique ads. We're going to duplicate the ad sets each once, so we end up with 30 to 54 ad sets. We're going to have the rules in place, stop loss rules, noon cutoffs, the restart ads, everything like that in place. And the final piece of it is daily scaling. So if this campaign is, let's say we started at $2,500 a day, and I see around 1 p.m. that we have 20, 30 sales, and let's say my target's 35, and I see that the cost per purchase for the day is 28, 29, 27, in the 20s, I want to start increasing that daily budget. And so typically I would do 1 to 2 budget increases a day. So the first one would probably be between 11 and 1 p.m. and then be followed by one between 3 and 4 p.m., 4 p.m. at the latest. Those budget increases can be as high as 100%. It really depends on, you're going to have to test this and figure it out for yourself. I would start it in the 25 to 50% range. So if you're at, $2,000 a day, I might bump that $500 to $1,000 at a time. And then I'm going to bump that, resume it, and I'm going to monitor it for the next few hours and see what the CPA does. And if I see it kind of stable or increasing just a little bit, I'm going to do the same thing again at 3 or 4, and then watch it through the rest of the day. Now, what you can do at the end of the day is you can reset the budget back to the starting budget and let it run again and do the exact same thing, or you can keep the budget at the new budget. That's up to you. Again, you're going to have to see just how these ad sets react, kind of what the mood of Facebook, because sometimes there's crazy things happening on Facebook where you can get really crushed. And so typically when I would start this, I would reset the budget each day, at least for the first week, just to get things stable and really find out of those 54 audiences the best ones, the best ads. And then, after 5 days or so, I would then start maybe holding the budget at a 25 to 50% increase and keep moving that up. That's what we did with this campaign. We started about $2,000 a day, and kind of reset it to $2,000 each day for about 4 or 5 days. And then the next week we started to increase it and then keep it. So it went to 3,000, then it went to 4,500, then it went to 6,000, and kind of stayed at each one of those levels for a day or two and stabilized. So again, that's the lottery method. It's a really strong strategy for CBO scaling. It works really well, especially if you have a mass market product with a lot of winners already. Again, we've talked about how to find those winners with segmentation, how to find the best bids, the best segments, the best audiences. This is kind of the culmination of all of that, taking all of that data and all those winners and putting the one giant campaign with a high budget to just maximize overall profitability on a daily basis.